You know, I didn't think I was gonna love this lens as much as I do. And I'm talking about the Viltrox 85mm F1.8. But I gotta be honest, man. I freaking love this lens. We gotta talk about this, man. We gotta talk about it. Talk about the Viltrox 85mm F1.8. My name is Terry Warfield. I like making gear reviews. I like talking camera and filmmaking stuff. So if you like that, make sure you hit subscribe and hit the notification bell. I got a funny story for you real quick. I actually went outside, the spot you saw at the beginning of this video, to film this video. And this is what happened. So I'm over there doing my thing, you know, swagging out with the camera and everything, and some police roll up. Now, mind you, I film in this location all the time. So police come over, hey, what you doing? I'm like, I'm just filming a YouTube video. They're like, all right, cool, have a nice day. I'm like, all right, cool. And I go on with my filming. 10 minutes later, another cop car pull up, and this one pulls up with the sirens going and all of that. Like, sir, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, I'm filming a YouTube video. They're like, well, you gotta get out of here. You're not allowed to be in here. And you know, I know, for issues I'm just gonna leave off for YouTube, but at the end of the day, they was player hating because they knew I was trying to be great. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to go home. But anyways, let's talk about this Viltrox 85mm F1.8. I've been using this lens for about maybe like 3 months. Now, a fair disclaimer, Viltrox sent me this lens. They did not make me pay for it. They didn't even ask me to do a video. They just sent it to me and they sent me another lens too and basically said, hey man, if you like the lens, share it with your people. So that's what I'm doing because I like the lens. I know y'all spec heads love specs, so let's just go ahead and knock that out. Viltrox 85mm focal length, aperture f1.8 to f16. Now, on a full frame body, the focal length is 85mm. If you mount it to something like this bad boy right here, you're gonna get an equivalent focal length of about 135mm. They make it for Sony. They also make it for Fuji, but obviously we talking about Sony. Now, it's got 9 aperture blades, 10 elements, and 7 groups. Minimum focus distance of, let's see, far as 2.62 feet, man. You can't get close with this lens. Front diameter 72mm, obviously autofocus. They do make a manual focus version too. I got the autofocus boy right here. It is 1.4 pounds. So mounted on a full frame Sony, it is very well balanced, even though it is pretty heavy, I'm not gonna lie. There are other lighter 85mm out there. However, I'm a big fan of heavy lenses and solid camera setups, you know what I'm saying? But on a crop sensor like this one, it will be very, very front heavy because those bodies are so small and this thing is so big and freaking heavy. Now let's talk about what came in the box. I did bring the box. This box is solid. I actually had a hard time getting it open. Now in the box, you get all the typical stuff. You get a nice little felt bag to carry the lens in. It did come with a lens hood. Honestly, the lens hood was flimsy and plastic, so I have no clue where it's at. But overall, very nice presentation. Dope Viltrox that y'all included a box of this high quality. Let's talk about the build. This is one of my favorite things about the Viltrox. This bad boy is made of all metal, and as you see, it's got a large diameter front element. I'm a sucker for front elements like that, man. They just look good. I'm just gonna be honest. On the sides, all you see is, you know, logos and markings, 85mm, Viltrox, their little designation sticker right there. That's all red, and honestly, it's a very simple lens. It does have a very large focus ring. I love this focus ring. It is just it's so satisfying because it's so smooth. It's just enough resistance. This is probably one of my favorite focus rings on any lens I've ever tested. And again, silent focusing motor. And it is focused by wire. Like I said, minimum focus distance is 2.62 feet, which is on par with most 85s out there, but I do wish I could get a smidge closer. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about photo quality and also video quality first. Now listen, me personally, I think it's kind of hard to make a bad 85mm lens. Like just the physics of 85mm, it's kind of hard to make one that sucks. Sure, some are sharper than others, some have better background blur than others, but as a whole, just it's kind of hard to make a bad 85mm. And in this particular case, the Viltrox doesn't disappoint. This thing is sharp as what? Even at f1.8. Now, obviously, if you stop down to like f4, You can cut cheese with it, you know what I'm saying? Now, here's the thing, man. I've said this in other videos. I'm not that pixel peeping Tom who gotta blow the image up to 1,000:1 to take a look at the individual sharpness of each pixel. No, and on top of that, with the 85mm, I'm not really looking for ultimate sharpness. The beauty of 85mm is just the separation, that dreamy look that everybody loves, and you get that with this lens, man. Beautiful, beautiful freaking pictures and video. Obviously, it's $400. If you're shooting into a backlit scenario where it's very harsh, you're gonna get some chromatic aberration, you're gonna get some purple fringing. You can remove those in post, so it's not a big deal to me. And even the more expensive 85s like the Zeiss Baddest or even the G Master, guess what? Them things still suffer from the same things also. Now, background rendering, like the out of focus area, bokeh, very, very smooth. The only time I would really have any complaints using this would be like if I'm shooting into something busy, like leaves or something else where it's a lot going on in the background. Background blur isn't the smoothest. I've used the Sony 85mm too, and that struggles even under those same situations. So let's talk about focus speed real quick. There is a firmware update available for this lens. I have not done the firmware yet. There's a USB port right on the back, so you can just plug it up and update the firmware. The only autofocus issue I have with this lens, and it's only happened a handful of times, there have been a few times where I've turned on the camera and it seems like the lens motor is just stuck. Like it just kind of does this back and forth. It won't go to one end or the other. However, pulling the battery, turning the camera back on seems to fix it every single time. Like I said, it's only happened a few times. I don't know if it's the lens problem or the camera problem, or maybe I need to update the firmware of the lens. However, this is the only lens that happens with, so I seriously doubt it's the camera. Aside from that, the autofocus is quick. It locks on to wherever I pointed at in photo mode and video mode, and I autofocus, face detect, all of that stuff works just like it does on the Sony 85mm. Honestly, for $400, I really think you will be a to not buy this lens if you only have $400. Now, a lot of y'all ask, should I get this or should I get the Sony 85mm F1.8. I've used this extensively. The Sony 85, I've had enough experience with it to be able to speak intelligently about it. As far as image quality goes, nobody is gonna be able to tell that, yo, you took that image on a Viltrox and you took this image on a Sony. Both lenses are mad contrasty, beautiful background out of focus area rendering. Both lenses ridiculously sharp, man. The Sony might have like a slight edge in sharpness, not enough to the regular untrained eye to know a difference. Now, here's the question. Should you get the Viltrox at $400 or the Sony at between $560 to $599? If you go with the Viltrox, here's what you're missing. Number one, you're missing the weather seal gasket that the Sony has that the Viltrox doesn't have. The Sony is lighter. You're also missing out on the button that the Sony has on the side versus the Viltrox, where it doesn't have any buttons or switches or anything like that. The Sony, you're gonna get a much better lens hood than the Viltrox, but those things put aside, as far as image quality goes and performance goes, they are very, very neck and neck. So can I recommend the Viltrox over the Sony? So like I said, if you can afford the Sony, get the Sony. But maybe you want to save a few dollars. Maybe you want to take that other $200 and put it towards something else. I don't think anybody will be displeased with this lens. Are there more expensive, better versions of 85mm out there? Yeah, but if you're on a budget and you still want a killer lens that doesn't seem cheap, that doesn't feel like it's just thrown together, this is a killer deal for $400. Like I said, I've been using this for about 3.5 months. Even if I had to pay for this out of my own pocket, I would be totally happy with my purchase after my extensive use of it so far. But anyways, if you want to cop this lens, the link is in the description. Go ahead and grab you one. And I hope y'all enjoyed this review. So let me know what you think about the Viltrox 85mm. If you got one, let me know your thoughts. If you think about picking one up, let me know your thoughts. And that's all I got for you, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Peace and chicken grease. Terry Warfield, I'm out. Peace.